things from happening. And we've been successful in stopping some of these measures that would have really hurt the rest of the country just as much as we're hurting here in New York City. I think, for the most part, one of my biggest accomplishments was just the other day we passed language. It was the last bill that we took up before we left for break, and it was to support 9/11 widows and children, to make sure that they were included equitably, that they were included equally in the United States victims of state-sponsored terrorism. We have many widows and children right in our district that either they live on Staten Island or in Brooklyn. Their loved ones, FDNY, NYPD, other first responders, were killed on 9/11, and they've been left out of this fund, which was created with seized assets from state sponsors of terrorism. We were able to get this language that I drafted passed in the House just the other week. In addition to that, making sure we delivered resources for our Coast Guard, so important to protecting our harbor and making sure that, you know, whether it's drug trafficking that's occurring, whether it's human trafficking that's occurring, we are so incredibly. We are very proud of being able to deliver those resources and delivering funding for the NYPD as well, as I mentioned. Those are my top three favorite accomplishments.
Let's follow a little on that. I'm going to give you a two-parter on crime. It's an issue that's really ramped up lately. You're currently running on the platform of working to restore good government, and in particular, refunding as opposed to defunding the police. You have also introduced legislation that ensures local municipalities fully fund their police departments. In light of today's rising crime rates and security concerns, how can you help restore safety to our neighborhoods? And just to piggyback on that, you have also spoken out against bail reform legislation. What can you do to help stop perpetrators from not facing prosecution and being released back out onto the streets?
So, as you know, I was a state rep prior to coming to Congress, and I voted against the implementation of that bail reform law. It was a disaster. As I remember standing in front of the 6-8 precinct when they passed it, saying that this was going to increase crime, and we were accused of fear-mongering. What has happened? Exactly what I said would happen, that crime would skyrocket, and this year, as well as the other previous years, we're seeing almost every single category of crime increasing. Just did a press conference a couple weeks ago talking about the burglaries that are happening on our avenues. Okay, these businesses trying to get back onto their feet, and they're victimized. Crime that you read about regularly happening in communities, particularly ours, that we didn't see these types of crimes happen previously. But because of this revolving door created under one-party Democrat rule, we're seeing this problem. Now, before I left the legislature, I fought very hard to get some crimes back onto the list in which a judge can use discretion. We were successful in getting some of those things done. Homicide, manslaughter, felony drug charges. Think about that. We actually had to fight for 7 months to get judge to have discretion again in those incidents. But still, this bill is a disaster. It has to be completely repealed. And that is what I continue to fight for. And every day I hold the politicians in Albany and our governor accountable for not taking this measure and repealing it because it is the number one reason why we're seeing crime skyrocket. What can I do on the federal level? Well, I've already introduced legislation that would require states to allow judges to have discretion. New York's one of the only states that don't allow this. So if somebody comes before a judge and they have a lengthy criminal history, and they're a danger to society, they still have to be automatically released unless they're on the list of eligible crimes for bail. Now, there's a stark contrast between my opponent's position and mine. Max Rose was one of the very first supporters of the bail reform law. He indicated it when he was first running in 2018. That was the impetus for Andrew Cuomo to pass this law, where people like Max Rose, who egged them on and said that he supports it. Okay? He also has not been a friend of the NYPD. Let's be clear about it. You know, he stood in front of the 122 precinct on Staten Island and with individuals, and they were chanting defund the police. And he chose to stay there while they were doing it. In fact, when he got there at this march, They were holding signs, horrific signs with horrible messages, including defund the police, against our police, and he chose to proceed to march with them and stay. So he can say whatever he wants now, but when the NYPD needed him, he was not supporting them. And that is why every single NYPD union is supporting me. That is why the two FDNY unions, our fire officers and firefighters union, have endorsed me because I am right on these issues of public safety, where Max has stood against them on this very critical issue. And one last thing, I did also introduce a bill that would require, this is for transparency, okay, to go after the rogue prosecutors who choose not to do their job, right? And we know they're right here in New York City. We believe that they should report to the Department of Justice how many cases they chose not to prosecute, how many criminals that they've released, how many charges have they reduced. And I say this is important because transparency is the key. How are you, a voter, supposed to be making an informed decision if you don't have the information? And so if we get these rogue prosecutors, require them to report, you can make an informed decision either to elect someone else next time, or if you have a recall law, which we don't have here in New York, but you saw what happened in California and San Francisco, they recalled their DA. And that is why I think it's important that we take these measures. So those are things I'm doing on the federal level, and of course, making sure we continue to deliver funds for our NYPD. And by the way, instead of hiring 87,000 IRS agents like Joe Biden and Max Rose wanted to do, maybe it'd be a good idea to hire more police officers, because right now we're a shortage in New York City and in cities across America, and more Customs and Border Protection agents, and while we're at it, some drug enforcement agents as well.
One last question, and then of course, closing remark. On the subject of immigration, with the migrants being bused from the border cities to New York, Washington, Martha's Vineyard, you went to the border and warned about what could happen. How can we rectify the situation that you claim the current administration has created?
Yeah, again, this is another crisis that was completely avoidable, and it was created, it was manufactured under one-party rule, under Joe Biden, and he came in, and let me explain what happened here. We had policies in place under President Trump that were stemming the flow of the illegal migration. That's a fact. Remain in Mexico, requiring individuals to apply from the next safe country for asylum in those countries prior to coming here. You come here when your court date is heard and you get heard. That was working. And now I just looked at a number of stats today, and it's shocking to see that not only do we have 4 million people enter our country mostly illegally, right? Some have legitimate asylum cases. But when I looked at this and I saw that only a small, tiny fraction have actually legitimate asylum cases. So you had 4 million people entering our country. Less than a quarter of them are even applying for asylum. So that means what's going on with the other individuals? Well, I can tell you right now, 1 million of them have no interaction with Customs and Border Protection or the U.S. government, and so they're in our country. We don't know where they are, where they're from, what their intentions are. Now, I believe there's are other legitimate asylum cases. My mother was a Cuban refugee, and so I feel for individuals who are fleeing political persecution. But again, it makes up a very small number. So this crisis could be addressed in multiple ways. Number one, we need to reinstate the policies under President Trump that were working. They were working, and no one can deny that that was stemming the flow, and it brought order to the asylum process. Number two, we have our own bill called the Border Security for America Act. And what it would do would complete barriers, it would install technology, it would give more resources and tools and staffing to our Customs and Border Protection agents so they can defeat the drug cartels who are the ones running our border. I went down there personally, and I'm telling you right now, they're being overrun, the Customs and Border Protection, by the drug cartels, and our president is allowing it to happen. You have human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, all occurring. And the President of the United States and the Democrats are allowing this to happen. It's disgraceful. And these young people, some of these little girls are being raped on this journey to this country, okay? They're being exploited. That's what's happening. Tons of fentanyl streaming in. 100,000 Americans died last year as a result. So, and people should also take note that we had dozens of people from the terrorist watch list caught at the border. Now, who's among the million who we didn't catch? That's what scares me. And that is why this has become a national security issue as well. So our bill would, if Nancy Pelosi refuses to bring it to the floor for a vote, Schumer, they refuse to bring any single border security measure to the floor for a vote. And the president refuses to repeal his executive orders and reinstate the policies of President Trump that were working. So the only way we're going to address this issue is if we end the one-party rule at the federal level. And I believe the same thing about bail reform in the state. The only way we're going to stop bail reform and congestion pricing that are being shoved down our throats by the Democrats is to end the one-party rule. You need to have a balance in this country and in our state if we're going to have common sense. And so I believe if we reinstate our bill, if we pass our bill, which we intend to do if we take the House, if we also add judges to the process at the border, so these cases are being heard more swiftly. Right? So right now you have individuals brought to New York. They may not have a hearing for a year or 2 years. They have no work authorization as a result. So that means the burden of supporting them, housing, health care, food, shelter, everything falls on the taxpayers, and that's wrong. New Yorkers, Americans are struggling enough with high inflation, with the increased cost of everything, trying to put food on the kids' table, trying to pay for your mortgage, your rent. And we cannot afford this type of influx that's happening. So that's why I continue to call on the president to do the right thing, secure the border, but I believe we have to do it after we take the House, and we will work toward doing that. But I think these are common sense solutions. I didn't say anything controversial here. I said what makes sense if you want to have a nation, if you want to have security, if you want to have public safety, and if you want to protect the taxpayers of our great country and our great state.
Jill, some closing remarks you'd like to make? Anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Look, I want to thank you again for doing this. I'm disappointed that my opponent chose to not show up, but if you watched the clips from CBS the other day, that could explain why he didn't show up. Because his entire campaign has been based on lies. The reality is there's a stark contrast. I'm someone who will fight for some common sense, some balance, while in Congress has just gone along with Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and the rest of the crowd. He has supported the disastrous bail law. I'm opposed to it. I'm fighting. I'm leading the fight to stop it and repeal it. He supported amnesty for gang members. He supported the DREAM Act that would have given amnesty to millions of people. He supported, actually he voted to stop construction of President Trump's barriers. And he also supports, Bill de Blasio's sanctuary policies. I am opposed to all those things. I want to see border security. And again, this is not about immigration. I'm the daughter of immigrants. And I've also helped, by the way, dozens of people become United States citizens, people who have been stuck in the red tape of bureaucracy for years. They did everything right. They played by the rules. They waited online, and they got stuck in the red tape of our government, and we helped them. And I guarantee we helped more people than any other member of Congress. But another big issue when we talk about public safety, closing Rikers Island. My opponent supports closing Rikers Island and putting jails in community, including, he said, one in Brooklyn. I'm opposed to that. I think Rikers Island is exactly where it should be, and that we should have more people actually in jail, not less people. And I oppose what Bill de Blasio has done and what Governor Cuomo has done in releasing these individuals. And so I think that people will see that there is a very stark contrast. And I just want to take a moment to address one other issue, because the only issue that my opponent seems to want to talk about on the campaign trail is abortion. And so you've seen the ad, so I might as well address this issue. Because again, we were in our debate the other day, and even Marsha Kramer called him out for running these ads. Because he's running ads saying that women will die because of a bill that I voted for, which is a complete fallacy. First of all, there's not one state in the nation that doesn't allow for an abortion if it's for the life of the mother. The difference, though, here is he's talking about a bill that was a late-term bill, up until birth, no restriction, okay? And that's the difference, right? I would say most people in this district support limits. That they, like me, want exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother. So the difference here is that I support that, and what he supports, and he's indicated this on multiple questionnaires, so it's not me saying it, it was he's saying it in his own questionnaires, and he should be here to respond. But even when I brought it up on CBS, he just acknowledged it. He basically didn't counter what I said, because it's right there in the questionnaire for everyone to see. He supports late-term abortion to the third trimester up until birth, no restriction, taxpayer-funded, no parental consent, and even went so far as to join his radical colleagues in Congress to vote against giving a baby medical care if it is born in a botched abortion. That's his position, and there is a contrast. And that I just wanted to clarify that, because that seems to be the only issue in this entire campaign that he wants to talk about. Doesn't want to talk about inflation, doesn't want to talk about rising energy costs, doesn't want to talk about public safety, and doesn't want to talk about the border. Why? Because these are all four crises that he and his party started, they're responsible for. If we flip the House, we will start reversing the disaster that they've done to this country. And so, I want to thank you guys. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, Thank you. Take a break. Okay. So we're going to take a 10-minute break before our next debate. stand there. You come on this side. You gotta stand there. Same side. Like right there. Like that's good.
All right. All right.
Better side, right?
You got room. You got room.
Is that on an angle?
It is because you got it.
Okay.
You come over more this way. You don't have to do it. You're good. Like this is good. You don't have. You come and look. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go.
Can I have everybody's attention? Can everybody please be seated? We're ready to proceed with the program. Please,
May I have your attention, please?
attention.
May I have your attention, please? Would everybody please take their
Take your
seats?
seats.
Please take your seats. Please take your seats. I said take them, not dump them.
So our next debate is for the Senate seat in District 26. The candidates are Senator Andrew Bernardis and Brian Fox. We invited both candidates for the Senate seat. Senator Bernardis said he had prior commitments. So I'd like to introduce Brian Fox. He's going to give us some opening remarks, and then I'll have questions for you.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have Brian. Please stay in one spot because we are being recorded on Facebook Live.
Not a problem. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I know most of you in this room already know who I am, and unfortunately, looks like we're debating another empty seat. So, moreover, look, we're at a very, very crucial time right now. And just to get kind of a show of hands and get a kind of a pulse for the room, who in this room, raise your hand, feels less safe than they did 4 years ago? Thank you. Who in this room feels that their quality of life has deteriorated from 4 years ago? Who in this room wants sensibility back into District 26? At its core fundamentals, again, a lot of you know me. I initially started my city council run from last year in the purest of forms, right? It had absolutely nothing to do with my own vested interests. It had everything to do with everybody in this room and the people that I plan and want to represent. Nicole, I know, just left, and our message, and most of the GOP, if not all of the GOP candidates, message is unified, and that is injecting sensibility back into our neighborhoods, making sure that our streets remain safe, making sure that safety and quality of life is and remains a top priority, and that's exactly what I plan on doing. Thank you very much.
Mr. Fox, part of your campaign platform is to say that you will take on issues that most politicians are afraid to tackle. Could you please elaborate on that?
Of course. I think that one point is it seems like our current senator is afraid to attack and tackle general safety. How about let's start with that? I mean, again, going back to when the introduction, we're all less safe. Okay, there's no surprise about that. Okay, and my opponent, Senator Bernardis, has done absolutely nothing to address it. Okay, fundamentally, technically, you can paint it how you want. He's done absolutely nothing to address safety by and large. Okay, so part of my platform immediately is to inject more money into the NYPD right out of the gate. Okay, secondly, it's actually twofold, similar to my city council run, is making sure that we bring back broken windows policing and the plainclothes unit. That will deter, thank you. I can't tell you how many times I've seen just walking my dog up and down 3rd Avenue, because I live right off of 3rd and Ridge, how many times I've seen the same person committing the same crime, getting arrested in the same spot, and being let back out in a matter of hours. That's a problem. That's a problem by and large. Not just in Bay Ridge, district-wide, citywide, statewide. It's a problem. And we have to do everything we can to address that. And so fundamentally, again, my platform is making sure that top priorities are safety and addressing crime. Those have to be the top 2 items and will be my top 2 topics once elected.
I'm going to give you a little chance maybe to elaborate on that. As you know, people are walking into our locally owned mom and pop shops and chains, even like Walgreens and Rite Aid, and they're clearing out the shelves. Managers say there's nothing they can do because these perpetrators are just going to be let back out on the street. You basically started answering this. I'm going to let you talk a little more about it. You're a strong advocate for local law enforcement and specifically bringing more cops on the beat to keep our streets safe. In your opinion, how has your opponent been lax in this regard?
Well, I think that it's a few things. I think we could start with his co-sponsoring of bail reform. I think that's definitely part of it, and the fact that he also supports qualified immunity. I think that also is a deterrent, and I think that's also a point that should be addressed. But the fact that he's also, again, he's part of the whole defund the police movement. That there's no surprise there. I mean, that's something that you could research and Google yourself and has been part of on several different fiscal cycles. So the fact that he's already supporting the defund the police movement, he supports bail reform and supports the qualified immunity has, generally speaking, made us all less safe. So when it comes to the stores and the storefronts and some of the pharmacies, we cannot address the fundamentals if the fundamentals are being neglected.
I'm going to shift gears and ask you to go in a little different direction. Where do you stand on the standards and opportunities presently offered in the public school system? For example, changing the criteria in specialized high schools, the gifted and talented programs, into a lottery rather than being based on merit and scholastic achievement. How do you stand on that?
We do not get rid of the gifted and talented program. I think that, our kids, thank you. It's something that should be earned, and although I understand the fact that they're trying to make it all inclusive, and like you said, I think that that's something, and again, I have many, many friends of mine that were in the Gifted and Talented program that worked candidly a little bit harder than me in school. But by and large, I think that it's something that should be earned, and I think that that's something that we should definitely keep, is keeping the Gifted and Talented program.
You have closing remarks you'd like to make?
Sure. I think that, again, it's such a crucial time right now. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Not just in my race. I mean, again, all of you guys, on the most part, know me. Some of you might not. But going from Lee Zeldin, who recently endorsed me, to Nicole Meliatakis, to Marty Golden, to all of the police unions, there's a reason why the police unions have, not a single police union have endorsed Senator Andrew Bernardis. There's a reason for that. And there's a reason why Lee Zeldin, Nicole Meliatakis, and all the police unions back a candidate like myself. It has nothing to do with anything other than they know and they're confident and they know they have the ability to address what's needed. And I see it every single time I walk my dog or talk to my neighbor or go into a restaurant. Our neighborhood is changing, and it's not for the better. Unfortunately, in this case, it's for the worse. Right? So we have to make sure we all come out November 8th. It is crucial, that we all make sure, get yourself out, get your family out, tell your neighbors, your friends, anyone that you possibly can. My team, Mike DiMartino in the back, say hello, wave your hand. He's been a critical part of my campaign. And he's also orchestrating helping people get to the polls for those that are elderly or disabled. We have to come out in ways, we have to come out and support every single candidate, down the line Republican, because honestly, that's the only way we're going to get sensibility back. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we'll move right on. Thank you, Mr. Fox. We're going to now move into our next Senate race. So the candidates for the District 17 Senate race are Vito LaBella and Ewen Chu. Let me do my boilerplate. And again, we invited both Senate candidates, but Ms. Chu said she had a prior commitment. So I would like to invite Mr. Vito LaBella to come up.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. I want to thank Fran and the Dyker Heights Civic Association for inviting me here tonight to talk to you all and talk to everyone at home. I know we're missing the Yankee game. My kids are there, so they'll be they'll be texting me play-by-plays. So yeah, I'm Vito LaBella. I am running for Senate in the 17th District. I was a police officer for 32 years, starting in 1986. Thank you. A lieutenant for 24 of them, not that that matters. But I retired in 2017 to take a more active role in my children's education. I became the PTA president right here at Christa McAuliffe, 187, one of the best schools in New York State. And you know, I thought I was going to be selling cookies. I really did. I had no intention of being here in front of you, 5 years later. But halfway through, the former mayor, Bill de Blasio, and his chancellor, they instituted policies that directly and negatively impacted the kids and the families who I represented. And these families, they came up to me and they said, Mr. LaBella, can you help us? What can we do? I'm like, what the heck can I do? I'm supposed to sell cookies. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Well, very shortly, we had press conferences. And very shortly, we were marching over the Brooklyn Bridge and staging protest rallies. And I spoke at the legislative sessions of the Assembly and the Senate and the City Council. There's YouTube videos of me doing all of that. I co-founded an organization called Place New York City that lobbies for accelerated education in New York City. And I ran and was elected twice to the local community education council here in District 20, kind of like a school board. But that's not the reason. That wasn't enough motivation to get me to stand here tonight. Since 2017, I watched as the work that the police officers did, tens of thousands of police officers did, that I did, that my friend Richie did, I watched it squandered. I watched it squandered. I watched it as far left progressive legislators, working family legislators, they squandered the work, and not only did they squander the work, but they denigrated and ridiculed the great men and women who performed it. So that is why I joined 100 other retired law enforcement officers around this country to come back into service, to do away with a leisurely retirement, time away from my garden, and you know I love my garden, time away from my boat, from fishing, time away from my family. Because I took an oath in 1986 to protect and serve, and that didn't expire when I retired. And in every neighborhood I go into right now, people tell me they're afraid, people tell me they need help, and like the families of 187, I'm going to help them bring New York City back to where it was. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Rebella, as you said, you were an NYPD officer for 32 years on the force. You've made law enforcement and law and order a pivotal part of your campaign platform. You have said that you will work to end cashless bail. That's what I want to ask. Reverse the Less is MORE Act and push to fund drug treatment and mental health resources for those in need. Do you believe that this will help safeguard our community from rising crime rates?
Of course. I mean, look, the Working Families Party candidates, the progressive left, took away a lot of the tools that the police officers use to address crime. They did it on the local level, the city council, where they decriminalized quality of life violations, and they did it at the state level. And we hear about cashless bail, but it's not just cashless bail. It's raise the age. It's the discovery. And discovery is like the evidence that the district attorneys have to give to the defense counsels, and they made it so onerous, and they did it on purpose so that cases would get dismissed. And all of these things that they did, these pro-criminal, very pro-criminal, anti-police legislation that they pushed through, that's what needs to be reversed. But it's more than that. What we see is cashless bail means that someone gets arrested and they get let out. But what I've heard at community board hearings, it's not just that. It's that they're not being prosecuted. We have a burglary team out there doing burglaries, getting arrested 6 times, getting fingered for all of these separate burglaries, and instead of going hard at getting one conviction and then prosecuting the next one and the next one, so that we can get a good sentence, they all lump it into one, and they give them some nonsense sentence, time served, 1.5 years. No, the district attorneys need to do their job.
Thank you. So you've also been an advocate for small businesses and small business owners who've been struggling, most especially post-pandemic. How can you help save these struggling businesses? What are your plans for doing that? And, they're being forced to close from lack of workers, paying higher rents. It's ongoing. What can you do to help them with that?
Well, tax holiday is something that we can do for them. We need to be able to give them incentives, and we need to get out of their way. We need to get out of the way of small businesses and see what regulations are hampering their ability to provide the services that they want to provide for the community. That's the biggest thing. But we were with small business owners again, and not to belabor the point, their main concern to us as we walked up and down Bay Parkway was the gangs of criminals that come here shopping, and they go in, they take stuff, and then they'll empty out shelves, and they'll go to the Subway and they'll sell it for $1. This is why the stores are empty at our Walmarts and our Rite Aids. This is why stores are closing, and the police can't do anything because their hands are tied.
Thank you. Something you brought up before, which was about education. You said that you believe that all students, regardless of race, deserve access and opportunity to education to achieve their full potential. Please explain how you would implement this.
Well, You know, here, this is a shocker. I don't often agree with AOC, but on this point, she said, why do we have a scarcity model for education? She's right. We have 30,000 people apply to these specialized high schools. My kids happen to get in. God bless them. They worked really hard. But how many kids would benefit from a seat in these schools? How many kids would benefit from an accelerated education? And then guess what? Let's get as much capacity as we need to provide for all of these children. That's the biggest thing. When we fight against each other, that's what they want. That's what the Department of Education wants. That's what the city wants. They want us fighting against each other so we don't turn our attention to them and their lack of accountability and their lack of responsiveness to the parents of New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. Your closing remarks.
You know, a crime victim's family said, what happened to the New York City that I love? What happened to the New York City that I love? Well, we know what happened, and that was one-party, supermajority Democrat rule. That's it. That is what happened. That's what happened in 2018 and 2019. That's what we have to reverse. What I'm asking you all to do, I'm asking you to vote for me on November 8th and for early voting starting October 29th. But I need you to go up and down the line, conservative, Republican. I need you to tell your friends and your families and complete strangers, this is the year that we have to get out to vote. I know it's cliche, you hear it every year. This is the election that matters most. This is what we have to do. But I did debate prep prior to coming here, and I listened to the debate from 2 years ago. And when the Senate candidate started to complain about crime and saying how bad it was, his opponent poo-pooed it and said, no, you know, you're wrong. Well, 2 years later, look how much worse it's gotten. He was right then, and it's the issue right now. And please, November 8th, vote for me. And I swear I'll raise my right hand again, and I'll go up to Albany, and I'll try to bring it back to the way it was. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you very much. Good night, and get home safe.
Thank you, Mr. Lavelle. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to have, hopefully we're going to have a few debates per assembly. So let's take a few minutes. Testing.
That's good.
Everybody, can I have your attention? Can everybody please be seated? We're about ready to start the next debate, and it's a debate. Attention, everybody. Look, I got to use it. They handed this to me, and I'm liking it. So, our next debate is a debate, and we have, and I don't have a boilerplate to read because we have the two candidates are here. We have Assembly Member Peter Abadi, and we have Lester Chang. And they are going to both, we're going to have a debate where I'll ask a question, and the opponent will, opposing candidate, will get a chance for a rebuttal. So, do we flip, or can I just, how should we? We didn't flip. Here,
I got a two-headed coin. You don't want that.
Here you go. Here. This is my lucky
thank you, Pat.
Okay, so,
Heads.
it's tails.
Tails?
Lester gets to decide whether he wants to open or
Would you like to open or close, Mr. Chang?
I'll let the H goes first.
We're going to
I'll let the senior person goes first.
all right, Assembly Member Abadi.
Out of respect, let the senior person goes first.
You have open, you can please.
Oh. Everyone's got to stay. Oh, good evening, folks. And for those of you, okay, I'm so used to for those of you who might be at the first Dyker Heights Civic meeting, or those of you who might not live in the district, just want to let you know that I'm Assemblyman Peter Abadi. I've represented the 49th Assembly District for over 30 years. It encompasses the area of Dyker Heights. It had Bad Beach, Bensonhurst, Sunset Park, and parts of Borough Park. And for the past 30-something years, I've worked hard in this district from day one getting elected, because I spent time understanding the district before I decided to run. And I got called upon in my first term. In my first term, the present administration then, and Congressman Guy Molinari, tried to close the Dyker Post Office. And working along with Dyker Civic and then Senator Chris Mega, we saved that post office, and that post office is still here today. Over the years that went on, I went up to Albany. I promised the people of this district I would work hard for them and bring the funding back. District 20, the best district in New York City, almost every school has been renovated. And we have, I think, 4 new schools and 2 new schools coming. Every one of those schools have been renovated. Actually, the first school that I got money for was $1 million for PS 204 right here in Dyker Heights, and that was to restore the old coal-burning furnace into gas, and now that's becoming obsolete. Gas furnaces going on. But we went on and we tried to deliver for this community. I worked hard here in the community. A few years back, Mayor Bloomberg decided he was going to close Castle on the Hill, our firehouse here. Working hard again with Dyker Civic, we saved that firehouse. Unfortunately, I didn't have the senator on my side at that time. He was afraid of getting Bloomberg upset at him, and he might have been right, because they took away my parking privileges for 6 months when we won that battle. But I made sure that we kept our firehouse. In Albany, I've been chair of the Government Employees Committee, and I've worked very hard to help our police, our fire, our sanitation, and all the people there. I'm also proud of the work I've done with our veterans here in the state. Each year we have an event for the veterans on Veterans Day, thanking them for their work they've done. And also, I've sponsored 4 bills that, God forbid, a service person in the reserves gets called up and they have to serve, they will get state or city time credited to their pension. So that's some of the work we've done. And I wish we had more time. I hope we get into the things for some of the controversial bills like bail reform,
You will get a chance.
yeah,
I
bail
promise.
reform and other issues there, but I'd like to explain those issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Member Proudest. Mr. Chang.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fran. Thank you inviting me over, and thank you everyone who shows up very much. I'm a 24 years military, Navy, intelligence. I've been in Afghanistan for about a year. Past 2 years, during the pandemic, and when the governor was called for an emergency, when President came out, I volunteered, and I was for 2 years in the front center, saving New Yorker in Javits Center when it was a hospital, when hundreds were dying, and also was a vaccination center. I'm just recently retired. But that basically briefly tells me who I am. I'm willing to risk my neck to save my fellow Americans, my fellow New Yorkers. Even at that time, there was no effective treatment for COVID, but I still went ahead and volunteered because anything I can help. I did caught COVID, all right, during the course of my during my duty, but I did, and I would do it again. And if the president were to call for war, I would gladly go for war. But that's the type of person I am. I sacrifice myself, and thank you very much. As I was coming back to New York, and I see what's happening right now. For the past 10 years, it was doing great. The economy is going, people are feeling safer, but for the past 2 years, 3 years, all of a sudden, we have rising crime. Even people in my family and people I know, when they go to the subway, they feel unsafe. And swear to God, when I was transitioning from Javits Center 2 summers ago, during the Black Lives Matter, when the riot was coming out, myself and my National Guard team, we were helmet up, body armor, ready to go out and to save New York. We were waiting for the call. The call never came. And I'm willing to call right now because I'm willing to declare with the next new governor, I will ask him to declare a state of emergency of New York City for crime wave. We need that. Public safety, as I walk up and down the streets, that's all I've been hearing, public safety. They are afraid to go in the subway. They're being mugged. Even my sister, reluctantly to go to the subway, she would take Uber just to go to work. So, in closing, Mr. Abadi, been in the office for over 30 years. What has he done? The office incumbency is so powerful. What has he done to help out our city, the crime rate itself? It's time need for the change right now. And there's a supermajority of Democrats right now. You got a governor's Democrat, you got a House and Assembly are Democrats. They passed all those bills. What happened?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna ask the question. I'm gonna pose a question. We're gonna have 3 questions for each candidate. Assemblymember Abadi, you have served your community for nearly 40 years. You have sponsored and helped pass numerous bills and served as how many? 34. I said nearly 40. That was, yeah. Okay, for 34 years, you have sponsored and helped pass numerous bills and served as chair on various committees. What are your 3 proudest accomplishments during your long and distinguished career?
I guess the 3, it's hard to pick 3, but really my work in the community, just as I said, Les said he wanted to know what I've done in the community. I think I said I've worked here to try to save things that administrations try to close, whether it's firehouses, post offices. But one of the greatest things I think I accomplished is what my grandmother said. Make sure that the senior citizens are taken care of. When I first got elected, she said, take care of the seniors and the young people. She said, the seniors made this great country. You have to take care of it. And the children are our future. And then with her hand in broken English, I said, and everyone else in the middle could take care of themselves, she said. So I think working in education was an important part of it. Working in crime, working with the police and fire of this city, trying to help them. And probably the last one is 9/11. When I became chair, of the 9/11 committee. Who would know a year later 9/11 would happen? And I passed numerous bills to make sure not only those people who lost loved ones there, but to this day, we're passing bills to make sure anyone who was down there that time and suffering from any illness is compensated for that. So that's probably one of the most important things. But the district is the important thing. Working for the people of our district. People have to live here, know the district, and that's important. And Lester, I know you said it, but you don't live here. You don't live in the district, and that's not fair. This would have never happened in the past, that people from outside the district in Flatbush and Midwood should run here. Never happened before.
Thank you. Mr. Chang, you have a rebuttal?
Certainly I do. Okay. 24 years I've been serving the country. I've been traveling all over the place. I'm a widow for several years, and I have a 95-year-old mother with dementia. And she has not been vaccinated because we have doubts about the vaccine that might hurt her if the after effects of she were taken. So with the dementia, as some of you family people knows, what does it take to take care of a family member who has dementia? Requires total commitment, total care. And that's why I'm here in Brooklyn. I graduated from Brooklyn College. I graduated from Midwood High School. I graduated from Huddy Junior High School. I graduated from PS 193, all in Brooklyn. And I graduated from SUNY Maritime College for a master's. Now, I'm a proud product of public schools, so I'm not going to denigrate the great school itself. But as Peter Body says, he's been around for over 30 years and trying to protect the police and supporting the police. But how about the bill that he passed 2 years ago, the cashless bail that he supported and he voted for? That's contrary to our police force itself.
Now, everybody, look.
I will answer any question from the floor. Okay. What's true? What's true?
Look, no. We're not doing this. Excuse me. We're not doing this. We're letting these candidates have their... We're letting them have their say here. Please, in the audience. So, all right.
The most important thing is not the residency. The most important thing is issue. Kitchen problems right now. It's the quality of life issues that you want to hear, not word on my residency. What you want to hear is what I'm planning to do for homeless shelters, what we're going to do about education, what we're going to do about crime. Those are the basic kitchen issues that everyone who's sitting in here matters. That's what you want to hear about. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go now and we'll let Mr. Chang answer one and Assemblymember Abadi can rebut. Mr. Chang, you are a local businessman. You've kind of touched on this. You have seen the rise in. Well,
I'm a retired military.
Small business throughout the borough. How would you take the challenge of remedying the situation of crime in the streets now?
Crime in the streets? Okay, firstly, as I said earlier, is to declare a state of emergency for the crime. So we should nationalize the National Guard to at least support and support the police force itself until they're ready, until they plus up, at least about a year. That's the first thing. Second, repeal cashless bail that Peter Abadi passed 2 years ago. That's the most important thing. We have to repeal that. Because one of your palm cards that he had, joined with Max Rose, did say on that burp says he wanted to roll back the bail reform. So that's the thing. But in terms of business itself, the congestion pricing that'll be coming out next year, that's a business killer. And my opponent supported congestion pricing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Assemblymember Abadi, you can rebut.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Chang, you talk about crime and all, in the area. I just want you to know, and you applauded a lot before for my opponents. You'll be getting this in the mail. And it basically said, if you want to know who's tough on crime, ask the crime fighters. They say it's Peter Abadi. And there's some little quotes in here. Let me just get this. I'm like, wait. Your police count on Peter Rapati in times like these. We need Assemblyman Rapati more than ever. Lou Turco, President of the Lieutenants Association. We don't have to tell you how tough times are, how times have gotten bad. Please, it's crucial to re-elect Peter Rapati. He stands for us in Albany. Chris Monahan, President of the Captains Association. It's especially important that you elect Peter Rapati. We need him in Albany. He helps our detectives, and our detectives help you. Paul DiGiacomo, President of the Detective Association. No one has fought harder for the police and against crime than I have in this area. That's why I have them all.
Now,
That's why I have all of them.
Now I'm going to ask Mr. Rapati, Assemblymember Rapati, I'm going to ask you a question now, and it'll piggyback on what you're saying, so you can explain. With the current rise in crime throughout the boroughs, please tell us where you stand on the lenient bail reform laws in New York State. You did vote for them, but in light of rising crime rates, do you still think it was the right decision?
No, I'm glad and just got some time to explain it. I voted for it because it was in the state budget. I had a choice to vote no.
No, stop.
Maybe someone should be educated. I could have voted for no money for education, no money for Maimonides and all. Right?
Save lives.
Right? I could have saved lives. That's why.
Listen,
That's why. Listen, I came here because I knew this. Why would every police union, if I'm against the police and against bail, why would every police union in the state of New York endorse me? Why next Thursday night I'm getting the highest civilian award from the police departments in the state? It's power of incumbency, not because I helped them. Right. I have nothing to do with that. I've been there. I passed bills. It was. You want education? It was in the budget. I'm leading the fight to change them. I think it's a disgrace that prisoners are let out of jail with no bail. I think judges should have more discretion in the thing. And a problem is when you go to vote now. Look at the judges. A lot of the judges can do that. They decided not to do it, and they're endorsed by both parties. Democrat and Republican, the judges are falling down on their job. They're the ones who have to determine what they're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Rapati.
Don't turn on crime. You can use the other.
Certainly himself. Of course, he has a power incumbency. Of course, he's a chairman of the government affairs that controls all the unions itself. When anything they want to done with their benefits, they have to come to him. Obviously, that's the problem with corruption, the potential corruption itself. At least it shows that his seat is very powerful, and his seat is powerful enough. Why don't you just vote against what's in the budget itself and be independent, be stand by, be in front of everyone, in front that I don't like this bill. Let's veto that. Let's do something else. Okay. I hope no one's get hurt. Okay. So that addressed that issue because all those unions, because they have to kowtow him because he's in charge of that seat. That's what I'm different.
Listen,
We need to change.
Look, we're trying to have a civilized debate here. We actually have two very, very worthy candidates here, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Let them speak. Let them present their views. If you're going to keep doing this, it's not going to help anybody. So please, I have a question for you, Mr. Chang.
Thank you very much.
And then, Mr. Rapati, you can rebut. Your campaign has appealed to voters who are looking for new education options like charter schools or who support race exams as the sole criterion for entry into the city's top schools. How will you go about making this happen, and why is it such a priority for you?
One thing is, I support GNT. I support increase of charter schools that the governor and the Democrats do not want to support because of the union. I support increase of charter schools. I believe in school vouchers to give the parental right to have the kids to choose what school they want. I am not qualified to decide what's the best interest of a child. The parents do. Give the power back to the parents and let the parents dictate the school, dictate the Board of Election is what they want the direction would be, how they teach the kids, not them forcing the parents what they need to pass. So that's why the yeshivas, the Jewish people are walking down. They are livid on what the state board is trying to push down on them, on the standard itself. So they are livid on that, on the yeshiva itself. So I support is parental right to choose schools. vouchers for all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Assembly member Abadi, please, do you have a rebuttal?
Sure. Lester, you mentioned the specialized schools, gifted and talented. I was the one who led the fight with some of your colleagues here for the specialized schools up in Albany. I know you were at some of the rallies that we went to, and I was there leading that fight. And I've led the fight in charter schools. I am proud. There are no charter schools in District 20, and we're the best district around. I do not want to see that here, because that takes away from our local schools. The charter schools will pick and choose the students, and it will take away. And don't say no, Lester, because you don't live here, and you don't understand our district, and you get angry at that. In your own words, you don't care about us. You've said you don't care about us in your own words, on your own website. I'll read it again. Lester Chan is committed to serving the residents of Midwood. This is Dyker Heights, Lester. It's not Midwood. It's not Midwood. You got to know the district. Five months this has been on your website, that you're going to represent the district.
Okay, thank you.
An outrage.
Thank you. All right, and we have a question for you, Mr. Abadi, and Mr. Chen, you can rebut. Assemblyman Abadi, with the current economic crisis, where the cost of living has skyrocketed, with families struggling to get by, what can you do on the state level to address this issue?
Well, it's not only a statewide or citywide, it's a nationwide and global problem with inflation. There's very limited things we can do in the Assembly. We can lower taxes, which we've done in the past. I recently voted to do away with the gasoline tax. Some of my other colleagues got up and said a tax holiday on clothes. I was one of the sponsors of that bill, but we're limited to that. The thing we have to do is to work in this community, and we mentioned small businesses earlier. Too many people are buying online and not going to their stores and shopping. We should stay there. And again, but Lester, again, understand our community. I'm really pissed off that people are running. If Mike Long was alive, this wouldn't happen today. If Sergi was around, the leaders today, if Craig Eaton were, this wouldn't happen, that people not from our area would run. So, you know, it's really outrageous that people, there's enough good people in Dyker Heights to run for office. I've never seen this before.
Thank you. Lester, Mr. Chang, please, you can have a rebuttal.
Yes, certainly. I serve not just only here in Brooklyn and Dyker Heights, but I also serve New Yorkers and my fellow Americans. I wear my uniform, no distinction, but to serve Americans. So that's what address. I serve everyone that deserve need protection. Now, one thing about the business itself, there's too much regulations. We're wrapped up with too much regulations itself. Parking fees are up. Congestion pricing that my opponent passed, that's going to raise even more, because that will kill local business in Chinatown, local business in Manhattan. It will kill, because I had to take my mother going to Chinatown to see her doctor twice a month. If that $23 comes in, that will, a round trip for me, that's about a minimum $50 a month additional. And many business in Sunset Park and Flushing has business in Chinatown in Manhattan. So it will kill that. Now, in terms of what we...
Mr. Chang, thank you so much. The last question is going to be for you to start, and then Assemblymember Abadi can rebut it. It's a subject that I guess keeps coming up, but it's I think so important right now in the light of what's happening. You have said that you are, quote, worried about safety in the age of terror. How do you propose to keep our streets safe in light of the recent rise in crime? Yes.
Well, first thing, again, nationalize the military for at least 1 year so we can help the police force, which they're retiring in record amount right now. They're not, once they hit 20, they're retiring right now. So that's the first thing itself. Next is to repeal cashless bail law, because that's been impeding on that. And third, we need a new governor to replace Alvin Briggs. And we need a new governor is to force prosecutors to do their job, is to prosecute instead of just letting death ticket itself. That's the most important thing. We need to have that change. We need to have back the broken window theories that work very well with Giuliani. And And the social democrats right now is taking away all of those powers that the police in their disposal, especially the immunity itself. We need to make sure that they have the immunity that they
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Senator
I think when you talk about crime and the bails, I think I've stated and I've said before, I'm out there leading the fight to change it. Really bringing the National Guard and the reserves in is very scary, Lester. These are young people who have no training in that. You could ask any police, not union, any police department in the state. No one would want them armed people walking in our streets. That is radical and that's wrong. And that's very scary that you would think that way. So that's the other thing. But I think bail reform is needed. I provided more money for more police on the beat. I think you should know the 6'8" and the 6'2", and I know you're going to be getting a mailing from Justin Brennan in the next couple of days, have more police officers than they've ever had. Well, you're just going to get mail from him. You can read it in information. You know, keep his mail. Okay. You know, but again, I'm running because I'm the assemblyman from this area and I care about this neighborhood and I think I know the issues involved. Lester, when you get to close, could you tell us how many precincts there are in the district? How many subway lines there are?
Right, so,
how many schools there are?
So, Mr.
Those
Chang,
you cannot answer.
So, Assemblyman Rabani has offered you the opportunity. You may close your closing remarks.
Thank you. I'm not a politician like he is. Over 30 years of dancing around the issues. I have straight, simple solutions, an idea that the Democrats, all I hear politicians is making sure. But I have concrete ideas, at least in ideas we can discuss about it, a place we can solve. Again, cashless bill definitely need to be repealed. We need to repeal the $23 congestion pricing. I'm proposing at least is to declare a crime emergency in the city of New York. At least we can start talking about that. And sir, National Guards and police officers, we all wear the same uniform. We all respected each other. And my guys are well trained, no matter how old they are. They are well trained itself. And don't ever denigrate my fellow soldiers itself. They're well trained, even police officers, and when we look eye to eye with our uniform, we have that natural respect for each other. Because once we wear that uniform, we know that we are a target. We are a target. So we have that healthy respect. And they would like us, and I know I talked to them personally, the police like to have some extra manpower, a backup itself, that they never have right now. That, I promise you, my fellow New Yorkers here, I would do my very best. Even if I have to give up my life just to serve this city and this state, I will do that to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Assemblymember Rogers, closing remarks, please.
Lester, you said that I'm a professional politician and you're not. How many times have you run for office in Manhattan? Once for the Assembly, once for the Senate, once for the City Council. So you're a politician too. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you do your job right, and I tell young people, it's a noble position if you do it right. But again, we need someone who knows our community, who lives here. I asked you the question, how many subway lines? You don't know that. You don't know how many precincts. This is tough times. We got to get out there and fight. There, you can't do that. You put out and you don't even care on your Facebook. It's here. I will serve the residents of Midwood. Why would you put that out here if you care about us here? You're not going to represent us. And we need people here representing us. It's not fair. Don't look at the people. Do you want to represent them or do you want to represent Midwood? Make up your mind where you live, but not here. So again, I ask for your support. I think I've done a good job over the years. I try to respect our community and work hard. And people who've lived here, who know me in the neighborhood, know I've worked from day one. I have no other job. I do this, and I do it because I love the job and I love my community. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Abadi. Thank you so much, Mr. Chang.
Machine.
All right, we're going to move right into the next debate. And happy to say we actually, everybody, can you please, can you sit down and can I have your attention, please? Please, sit. Thank you. All right, everybody, please sit down. We're gonna introduce our next candidates. This is going to be a debate for the Assembly, and we have Assembly Member Matilda Proudest, and we have Alec Bucharest. We're going to be debating. And everybody, by the way, you have to stay. Ms. Proudest, Dr. Proudest, Mr. President, please stay. You can sit, you can stand, but you kind of can't move around.
Okay. I move by nature.
Yeah, well, you can do that, but you gotta stay in. All right. For opening remarks, I guess you want to flip a coin for?
Assembly member, head to tail. You win, so you open the floor. It's your choice.
You'll open. Assembly Member Proudest. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So what's going on? Did you guys scare away the other Democrats? What happened tonight? I'm a little... What's going on? Is Peter still here, or did he leave? I came to keep him company. So anyway, I'm Assemblywoman Matilda Proudest. Every time I come up here, it's like deja vu. There's Peter. He didn't leave. I first stood here in front of all of you 4 years ago. At that time, I was candidate Proudest. I came back in 2020 as the Assemblywoman for the 46th District, where I debated my then opponent. It was in the height of the pandemic. There was no audience. And I am here tonight, 4 years later, after many of you first met me, seeking my third term in the New York State Assembly. Some of you who follow politics might be asking, why would anyone be running for their third term in the Assembly? It's a very busy time in New York State. There's a lot going on. But all jokes aside, I'm running for my third term because I'm really excited about a lot of the work that I've begun since I've been in this seat. And I would, in fact, like the opportunity to continue what I've started. In short, I've brought over $5 million to the district. I consider myself a steward of state resources. In addition to being a lawmaker, I'm happy to talk about some of my bills a little later on, but one of the greatest feelings in the world is having one of your pieces of legislation pass and turn into law. And last but not least, because I am a longtime community advocate, because I am a social worker, I have brought a certain flair to this seat as a community advocate, and I have been fighting side by side with the people of the 46. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Proudest. Mr. Bucharest.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for sitting here and waiting for our debate. And I'm grateful to Assemblywoman Proudest for actually be here. My name is Alec Bucharest, and I'm running for New York State Assembly, District 46. I'm a candidate of Republican and Conservative parties. I am a person with the experience in almost every part of the life. I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here. I choose to live in this country. I love this country a long time before I came here. I'm a father of 3. I was a member of the community board. I was a treasurer, elected treasurer of the community board 13. I was an assemblyman in 46th Assembly District for almost 9 years. I have an experience in business. I built a nonprofit organization called Kajeka. It's an umbrella for Russian Jewish community in New York City. I have an education in engineering, economics from Moscow Technological Institute. I have a certificate from Columbia Business School in strategic management for nonprofit organizations. But most importantly, I have a desire. I think I'm on a mission to become a public servant again. And because I wasn't born here, but I wasn't born in a country which were living under one-party ruling and still living under one-party ruling for about 100 years, I feel like I have a responsibility before all of you and my neighbors and my family. I'm trying to build a wall here, a wall in South Brooklyn against the socialists, against the progressives. In fact, I call them regressives because they might don't know, but they're trying to bring us back to the USSR. That's what they're trying to do. And the progressives, a leftists, and a Democratic Party, I don't think they have an idea what they're doing now. So I have a personal responsibility to build a wall against them. I have a personal responsibility to become an assemblyman again and represent all the good people in 46 Assembly District, but most importantly, the people with the common sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to start, and again, I'll ask a question and the opposing candidate gets a chance to rebut. Dr. Francis, I'm going to start with you. You originally voted for and have been... Yeah, with the questions you get, everybody. You've been a supporter of the cashless bail reform legislation. In light of the recent rise in crime rates throughout the borough, do you still believe that's the right decision?
So thank you for that question. A few weeks ago, I stood right here for the monthly Dyker Heights Civic meeting, so I hope I can get a little time to say my piece and say my answer. So first of all, before I became an assemblywoman, I was known for starting multiple nonprofit organizations in my community, including 2 anti-gun violence organizations and a street patrol group, which is sort of like an anti-crime group, which is still in existence after 8 years. So I have demonstrated since I was a teenager that I am against guns, I am against crime, I am against violence. While I was in the assembly, let me explain the reason why we voted for the elimination of cashless bail. I know some people, may not want to hear it, but there's a reason why it was done. There was a well-documented loophole, if you will, and there was an unequal system built into the criminal justice system. So what was going on? What was going on is that you have 2 people who were accused of the exact same crime. In fact, we have documented incidents where you have 2 teenagers accused of the same thing. They were accused of stealing something at a Walmart. They both get taken in, they both get processed. Bail is set for both of these young people. Let's talk about Khalif Browder. His bail was set at $3,000. One young man's family can afford the bail. He gets out, he's home for dinner. Now he just has to sit home waiting. He's playing soccer, he's playing sports. He's waiting for the date to go see the judge. For the other young man, because his family doesn't have bail, he actually has to sit in Rikers Island waiting. That's exactly what happened.
Please.
Am I making that up? I don't know what's...
Please, let the candidates speak. This isn't a discussion. It's letting them have a chance to speak.
We need to speak too, John.
No, we stated the rules. This is not asking questions or participating from the audience. Let the candidates have their chance. They'll discuss with each other.
I'm simply explaining why the legislature took this matter up for a vote. I haven't even said what I believe or what I think right now. I'm just telling you how we got here. So that's why we did it.
Thank you,
But
Dr.
now
Francis.
that we're here right now and we have hindsight and we've been able to see how things have played out, you're not really giving me an opportunity to talk about some things that do need to be tweaked with bail reform, such as making sure that judges have discretion.
Dr. Proudest, we have, you will have a chance.
I believe in judges having discretion and being able to assess
So
dangerousness.
what we're doing with this, I know, you came, we set this up in the front, so that everybody gets an opening remarks, that's their opening remarks, 3 questions each, and each candidate gets to rebut those questions and closing remarks. And it is not participating from the audience, so it's basically allowing the candidates to debate, which is what we're doing. Mr. Bucharest, you have a rebuttal.
It's just very interesting to hear the train of thoughts, how the Assembly Democrats came to the idea of a cashless bail. On one side is cashless bail, which allow a lot of criminals stay on the street. On the other side, just listen to this, please, listen to this train of thoughts. On the other side, defunding the police. So at first, you want more criminals on the street, and a second, you want less number of police officers on the street. So obviously, we have what we have now.
I am not going to allow, I will not allow anybody to put words in my mouth. I'm not going to allow anyone to put words in my mouth. I'm not talking about defunding the police, and we're not going to mix apples and oranges.
You're going to get a chance. I have to follow, we're following a
So I
format.
can't respond to what he's saying?
No, but you can, I'm going to ask a question, you will be able to respond, and I will have questions for you. Then we're not, then.
Good job, John. Thank you.
Mr. Bucharest, in 2022 you switched parties from the Democratic Party, where you served in the New York State Assembly from 2006 to 2015. What made you decide to leave the Democratic Party and run for office against an incumbent candidate as a Republican?
Thank you very much, Howard. I became a Democrat as an immigrant at the end of the 90s. It was absolutely different Democratic Party. I was a member of the Democratic Club on Coney Island Avenue called Giuliani Democrats. If you remember, Mike Geller was the Democratic district leader. Giuliani Democrats, it was a completely different Democratic Party. Now the Democratic Party of today, it's not a Democratic Party that was 20 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago. The Democratic Party of today is the party with no common sense whatsoever. And just 3 minutes ago, I told you, I just don't understand the train of thoughts. And I left, I didn't change a bit.
But when did you have this epiphany?
I did not change a bit. I'm still the same person. But the Democratic Party changed so much that I cannot be a member of that party, of that organization anymore. There is no common sense whatsoever. So I decided that because I support the police, I support military, I support parental choice for the schools, I support an education based on meritocracy. This is the reasons why I switched party. I cannot belong to that organization anymore.
Dr. Bernardis, you can rebut.
Oh, there's so much to say. First of all, less than a year ago, Mr. Bucharest, you ran as a Democrat. When exactly did you get this epiphany that Democrats are so bad? You ran as a Democrat less than a year ago. So I find it curious that all of a sudden you've seen the light, but that's neither here nor there. Secondly, I understand that it plays very well and it's sensational to mix bail reform and defunding the police, but I find that really dishonest of you to do so because those are two different issues, and I personally did not say anything about defunding the police. Bail reform is bail reform. People who talk about defunding, they can talk about that. I have never said that. You are giving the impression here that that's part of my platform, and that's just untrue. It's not true.
It's a part of omnibus bill.
This is are the rules.
No.
It's hard to listen to all this.
Those are the rules. Our next question is for Dr. Frontis. Dr. Frontis, you founded the Coney Island Anti-Violence Collaborative in 2013 after 2 back-to-back fatal shootings in the community. With the uptick in crime being felt throughout the city, what do you propose to do to solve the problem and bring law and order back to the streets?
Thank you so much for asking me that question. I was hoping for an opportunity to talk about it. So yes, crime is up, and anybody can see that. And crime is up for a variety of reasons. We would have to be here all night to talk about if there's a correlation between people who are low income, who are being released without bail. But there are a host of other issues why crime is up. Crime is up because the economy is bad. Crime is up because people need mental health services. And so in the assembly, I have made it my business to fund anti-violence programs in my community. And one thing that sets me apart as a candidate is that, talk is cheap. Politicians can talk all day. We like to talk. That's why many of us, run for office. But I can tell you that I'm a doer. I'm not a talker. Since I was a teenager, I was a community activist. And the former assemblyman knows that because when he was representing Coney Island, he used to come to some of my meetings, and I would have over 150 people, as you're sitting here tonight, attending my anti-violence meetings. So I don't want anyone to put words in my mouth. I don't want anyone to insinuate that I want crime to go up in New York City, because I myself as a crime fighter, and I'm doing everything I can to keep crime down in our communities. We need programs, we need mental health services, and a lot of the people that we see on the street committing crimes, they need to be in a psychiatric hospital bed, and to the extent that we keep releasing those beds, those people are being put back on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bernardis.
First of all, last year, yes, I've been running for city council and Democratic primaries as a Democrat. As soon as I started supporting the police, way before those primaries, as soon as I got a PBA endorsement in those primaries, I realized I'm not a part of a Democratic Party. Automatically, I realized that the Democrats, prime Democrats, wouldn't vote for the person who's supporting the police. That was last year. Now, your anti-violence organization. I've been supporting your anti-violence organization with the money, up until I realized that they just raise awareness and talking about supporting anti-violence programs. This is something, when you're saying that the crime is created by the bad economy, I remember there is a Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. They said in their works that the crime is there because people are suffering from poverty.
Thank you. The next question.
I have to say,
Next question I'm directing to you, Mr. Bernardis. You have said you want to help small business owners by lowering taxes and less bureaucracy. You claim there are too many wasteful political programs that benefit from business taxation. Can you please explain?
Well, first of all, for me and for many, many people in this room, every small business is an organization that's servicing the community. For the socialists and progressives, the small business owner is a capitalist. That's the difference. So I want to help every small business in my community because I am a small business owner. I was named Entrepreneur of the Year in 1997 for the business that I built called Panorama. I know how hard it is to run small business, how hard it is to make the needs for the ends for the small business. I know it firsthand because I have an experience of being a small business owner. This is absolutely incredibly crucial for any elected official who have an experience in a small business, having an experience in building your business, having an experience in building a budget for your business, for your organization. This is extremely important. Unfortunately, today, we have so many people in the political offices who are former staffers, community organizers. They just have no idea how to run the business. They have no idea what it is to be a small business owner. A small business owner is a big responsibility, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity. It's an opportunity to build an American dream. Less government. That's what we need for small businesses. Less government in every direction. Because when I wanted to come to this country, when I started loving this country was very different.
Dr. Francis.
It's all very, very fascinating. Less government. Look, I'm standing here tonight. I suppose I am the face of government. I'm the incumbent in this seat. I'm extremely proud. Not only do I bring to this race my own experience as a small business owner, so you are not the only candidate in this race who has that experience. I myself am an entrepreneur. I founded several small businesses. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. But I'm proud of the fact that I have used my experience to make sure that I reach out and help people in my district start their own businesses. Last year, my office launched something very, very exciting, which was unprecedented for my district, called the 6-Point Economic Mobility Plan. To his credit, my opponent, Alec Bucharest, called me to congratulate me on the plan and participated in the press release of this event and told me how wonderful he found the plan. So this 6-point plan, this mobility plan, has been helping people here in southern Brooklyn start their own business, purchase their first home, get the job creation that they need. And that's the difference between a talker and a doer. If you look at my resume, I'm constantly doing, not just talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Francis. I'm going to...
I cannot respond.
That was a rebuttal.
Because it's just a plan. It's still there. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Francis, during your 2 terms as Assembly member, what are your 3 proudest achievements and your 1 biggest regret?
Well, there's a lot that I've been proud of. I've talked about some of that tonight. I think the 6-point economic mobility plan, when I first said it, it was a tongue twister, and people said, what was that? What are you talking about? It's a 6-point economic mobility plan. And now we have the receipts. The results are in. We have been getting thank you cards, flowers, people thanking us from this plan for our plan. Through our plan, people have been able to purchase their first home, to start a small business, to get licensing for various professions and credentials. I'm extremely proud of that. I also started something called the Southern Brooklyn Community Think Tank, which we now call the Southern Brooklyn Community Roundtable. Because I am an organizer, I heard him use that word before, I'm constantly bringing people together to know what would you like to see in your district, what would you like to see in your community. But I also started this debate tonight talking about my legislative record. I have so many bills that I've introduced, whether it was my Central Park 5, my mental health first aid bill, my New York City transit noise reduction bill. To see my bills get signed into law by the governor as a first-time legislator, that's something that stays with you, I think, for a lifetime. So I would say that the things that I'm the proudest of are being able to invest in my community, seeing my bills turned into law, and being able to think out of the box and bring innovative program to the district.
Thank you.
Well, I was very happy to see your 6-point plan. It's just that I don't see any real consequences in the district. I don't. And when I was an assemblyman, what I've done for my community is just not just legislative, not just bills. I brought a lot of money. I brought a lot of money to fix the boardwalk, and I still have unfinished job there. I understand that. I'm very proud of helping in 2008, 2009, 2010, Fort Hamilton stay as a military installation.
Thank you.
With the good people like Senator Murray Golden.
The last question I'm going to pose to you, Mr. Bucharest, is for you. And of course, Dr. Fontes can rebut. Your campaign platform states that you are running to restore funding to the New York City Police Department, rebuild the criminal justice system, and reverse bail reform that releases criminals to commit more violence. How are you going to achieve these goals?
Well, first of all, we really have to repeat cashless bail. We have to refund the police. And most importantly, we have to restore the respect to the police. Yes. It was years ago that I was a Democrat, but one of my bills, as a Democrat in the Assembly, one of my bills was the bill calling for capital punishment for the cop killers. Some Republican members of the Assembly would want to carry this bill, but I think it's important. I will do this bill again. I will reintroduce it because this bill is about respect the police. If police is protecting us, government's supposed to protect the police officers. And that's the only way. And also, I'd like to get rid of the old rule. I think it's a rule from about 1960, 1970. The rule that would prohibit police officers to serve their own neighborhoods. It's an old rule, and we have to get rid of it. If people want to serve their neighborhoods, if police officers want to serve their communities, they must serve their communities, because this is the greatest way to bring the police and community together. Thank you.
Dr. Francis?
I'm sorry for the facial expressions. I just continue to be struck by this sort of false dichotomy, and it's really important that I speak for myself while I'm on the record, while we're being live streamed. I have always supported our law enforcement. I know that Alec tries to present himself as the only candidate in this race who does, but it's utterly preposterous. As I've said before when I've given remarks, it's not about supporting police, it's being against anyone who abuses their power. I come from a family of law enforcement. I proudly support law enforcement. For the last 4 years that I've been in this seat, I work extremely close with all of the precincts in the district, helping them with whatever they need, allocating funding. The other day I was minding my business, and without expecting it, I received an endorsement from the Auxiliary Police Benevolent Association, which I wasn't expecting. And they gave a long quote in terms of why they're endorsing me, and they said that they've studied how I work closely with the police departments across the district. But here's the thing. You can support the police, but be against police brutality. You can support your elected officials, but if we're corrupt and we steal money, you should call that out. So you should call out anyone who abuses their position. Thank you.
Well, you can now have your closing argument, because I believe, right? Yes, you get the closing argument.
I can't believe it's time. I just got here. I literally just got here. I don't know what happened, but thank you, everyone. Thank you for organizing this debate. It's a pleasure to come. I come all the time. Someone told me at the door that he appreciates me coming, but why wouldn't I come? I've come here since 2018. Some of you here tonight may not be voting for me, and it's okay. They may be no Democrat in this room, and I will still come and speak to you all because I go to bed at night feeling really proud of the work I've done. My conscience is clear. I work so hard for this district. I am an advocate. I fight with the people. Every time someone in the community comes to me with a problem, they don't get a blank stare. They don't get a talk to my secretary. Don't call us, we'll call you. They have me standing with them side by side, fighting with them. And I believe that that's what people are looking for because talk is cheap. So it's an honor for me to serve. And if I am elected another 2 years, I will serve just the same way that I've been serving, giving it my all and fighting for the people of the 46. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. Mr. Bucharest?
I'm going to be representing the whole district. Even though this district is extremely diverse, you have people speaking more than 40 languages in the district. I'm going to be representing both sides of the district. It will never never, I promise you, my office in Bay Ridge would never be closed, especially because of the broken window for 2 months.
Don't
It
take
will
a
never
cheap
happen.
shot. Do not take a cheap shot. Do not take a cheap shot against my office when you know that someone came in and harassed us on multiple occasions. My office
Can I
has
talk?
been open.
Dr. Francis, this is his closing remarks.
Well, when the window was broken, you called the police, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the police deserve to be refunded, not defunded. This is one.
I never
I've
said
never-
defund
I've-
the police. I never said defund the
Let him
police.
finish, Dr. Francis.
But you can't just put words in my mouth. I never said defund the police. You can't mischaracterize me.
All right, Mr. Bradley.
Yes, yes. I've been sitting here for 3 hours and waiting for the moment that I can put the words in your mouth. That's what I'm doing now. This broken window.
Let this end on a good note, okay?
Yes.
Please.
This broken window is really showing you what kind of service the current assemblywoman is providing to Bay Ridge. Because when assemblywoman is saying, come to my office, talk to my people with your problems, the question is, where would you come for those 2 months? Within the period of 2 months, how would you find an assemblywoman? It was very easy to find me when I was an assemblyman, because every person whom I was talking to, whether in the office, in Albany or in Brooklyn, would have my cell phone number. That's the kind of access you have to have for the elected official. Thank you.
My office was not closed for 2 months. My office, I just don't appreciate.
Let her have her. Go. Let her defend what she wants to defend. And then you will get the last word. So go ahead, Dr. Francis.
Are you kidding me?
Please.
Are you kidding me?
Let this.
Nobody knows who I am,
Please.
but I've allocated millions of dollars to the Dyker Heights School, to NIA, to the Dyker Heights Library. That's just not true.
All right.
I mean, it's just unfair to say something that isn't true. My office was not closed for 2 months. We were not closed for that. I know you're looking for a cheap
I
shot,
apologize
but
for
it's
the
not
months
true.
and a half. It was months and a half.
It was not a month and a half.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you.